Welcome to the WTR Small Cap Spotlight Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Gerdeman, Vice Chair and Co-founder and Chief Marketing Officer of Water Tower Research. In today's episode, I'm being joined by Chen, Executive VP and Chief Strategy Officer of Perfect Corp, NYSE ticker symbol PERF. With its hyper-realistic virtual try-on solutions, Perfect Corp leverages its differentiated technology platform to create a seamless and engaging channel shopping experience for customers and brands in the beauty industry. Also joining us this morning is my Water Tower Research colleague, Kunal Madhukar, Managing Director, Equity Research. Good morning, gentlemen, and thank you both for joining today's podcast.
Good morning.
Morning, Tim.
Louis, can you briefly describe your business for investors who may not be familiar with Perfect Corp's products and solutions?
Yes, Perfect Corp is a technology software company. So we create a series of solutions for beauty tech and fashion tech, anything from augmented realities for virtual try-on. So for example, when a female shopper tries to buy a cosmetic product online, they will be able to use their smartphone to visually see the product already on their faces with its lipstick, eyeliner, foundation, brushes, or more. We also do in the fashion space for jewelries, for watches. More recently, we expanded our business in the generative AI. So we also created solutions, many apps around video creation, photo enhancement, photo generative, and more.
Excellent. I'm going to turn this over to Kunal to ask a few questions next.
Great. Thank you, Tim. Let's dive deeper into the enterprise or B2B business. Who are your customers and what's happening in their industry?
Yes, we have been in this part of the industry for 10 years. This is our 10th anniversary. And the beauty industry, is very traditional and is going through a very big transformational changes through digital technologies, right? So the way that the traditionally beauty companies are doing business is no longer effective, especially when it comes to the young consumer who are always shopping on the mobile, on the go. So they do need technology in order to replace the traditional way of physical sampling, of having people visiting the store where you are touching the actual product, you're trying it on your face. So our clients are going through that changes, and they're investing very heavily on technology, and that's where our role come in. So they are the Estee Lauder of the world, they are the Coty, the Shiseido of the world. So these are the beauty conglomerates that they have many brands, all the way from luxury to prestige to masses, and they are selling either online, they are selling on their .com or on social media, and they utilize this type of technology to help consumer first discover the product. Of course, you'll try to understand better the preference of the consumer because the beauty category is very personal. Everybody looks different, have a different style, like to wear differently, and they use this technology to address those needs.
Got it. And in the past few earnings quarters, you've kind of mentioned B2B has been a challenge for the past so many quarters. How much of your revenue is B2B and how fast is that growing?
Right. So as of last year, our B2B and B2C revenue is about half and half. The B2C is a little bit bigger than the B2B because it has been growing really well worldwide in many markets, mostly driven by the generative AI momentum that's going on. Consumers are more willing to pay for the subscription for those premium features in the mobile app. At the same time, I think for the last 2 years, where there's inflation costs, it's high interest, it's certainly driving more pressure on the enterprise side. So they're making the enterprise spending a little bit more cautious. They have to deal with a slower economy in China, for example, right? That is, certainly been a pressure for the bigger beauty companies. But I think, we do see a little bit light at the end of the tunnel with now, the interest rate, the cost of capital coming a little bit lower. It seems to be the enterprise investment appetite into creating, new investment in technology is reopening. So we have seen that business a little bit in plateau in the last 2 years, but now in the recent quarter, we do see some momentum picking up again. The sales cycle has been very prolongated for a period of time. And now I think that the spending may be coming back a little bit stronger in 2025. That's what we hope so.
Got it. Got it. At the time of your IPO in late 2022, the B2B business, of course, was growing much faster. And, and I'm kind of thinking two things. One is, did the COVID lockdowns where everything had to go virtual did that make it easier for you to kind of, sell your service and your idea and value proposition to your B2B customers? And what I'm trying to think is, when things start to normalize, will the sales cycle shrink as your B2B customers, the enterprise customers, better appreciate the need for a virtual solution?
Indeed, I think the COVID, the lockdown certainly was was a good tailwind pushing the brands to do more digital, right? I remember the joke back then that who contributed the most in the digital transformation for brand is the CEO, is the CIO, is COVID, right? Everybody choose COVID. So I think certainly it has no choices, right? So because traditionally before the lockdown, on average, 90% of no of if not more of the revenue from beauty companies are coming from the traditional retailers, right? People who go to Sephora, people who go to department store, to beauty counters, and that certainly has, because of the shutdown, that business very quickly went away for a period of time where now they're pushing everybody online, right? So you need to buy online. And I remember in 2021, there was this big rush where all the beauty companies are investing heavily in building their shopping cart, building their e-commerce capability, building the infrastructure to support the e-commerce. And we, of course, have benefits from that, right? Because when you go digital, how do you engage with consumer? You don't get to see them, you don't get to touch them in the store. You have to engage them with data. You have to understand better with consumer for their behaviors. Of course, now the world is back to normal, but I think the trend is not going back, right? Once the people shop online, it's very hard for them to go back. And the same, we have seen that repeatedly across different categories, and I think beauty is finally catching up, right? So we now see more the young people buying beauty products, buying skincare products, buying shoes, sneakers, buying clothes, everything online. And once they benefit from the the ease of use and it's more competitive market, it's very hard for them to go back. Of course, in certain countries, maybe like Japan or in Hong Kong, people may still want to go back to the traditional way. But I think for like North America, for European customer, we do see that trend, inevitable that everything is going to move more online. Of course, our solution works omnichannel. So you also work offline, right? So if the people still want to shop sometime in the store, and we still have the kiosk solution in the store that they can do that without touching the sample, because you are never sure if that's clean, it's hygienic, and that's kind of solves a lot of problem in store as well.
That's a very interesting point you bring in terms of like hygiene and especially post COVID, is like who's touched what. And so again, this is a follow up and a hypothetical question. But if the beauty industry were growing at more normalized rates, mid single digits thereabouts, how fast do you expect your B2B revenue to start growing again?
I think we are diversifying our business, right? When we went IPO, our business was almost entirely only beauty. In the last 2 years and a half, we expanded very quickly into watches, jewelries, high fashions, and more recently, with our acquisition of Wanna that we just concluded last month, we are now into shoes, bags, scarf, and more categories. So the idea is to enlarge our TAM, right? As a public company, we're always seeking for newer opportunities to grow with the resources that we have, with the capability that we have. So even if the beauty industry isn't growing as fast as it used to be, we still have other avenues to grow, and not to mention the B2C business, which is growing really nicely. On the B2B side, I think certainly China is a big factor. If we look at the last decade, China has been the growing factor, the growing engine for a lot of these global brands, because the market's opening up. It's a huge consumer market where people are finally getting into more beauty, makeup products, and so forth. So again, these we do see other emerging market coming up very quickly in the place of China, right? For example, Indonesia is one of our fastest growing market during this period of time. We do see India, the middle class, they are also growing quickly. That the adoption of beauty products is going to help with a lot of beauty brands. And once they do more sales, we believe that they are going to be, even more need for these technologies and create those demands for us. Also, we do see Middle East. So, my team is traveling there quite often these days. In different trade shows, there's a lot of emerging brands and retailers, especially retailers, that carry a lot of brands in the regions. Is helping drive the overall global market. So again, we see from the market study data, the beauty market, it is still growing, right? So overall, it is still growing, but instead of growing just the big brands, is a lot more indie brands now. right? So it's a lot of personalized brand that may be more regional business, but as an overall category, it is still a very good place to be.
Great. I mean, that's a great segue into your consumer side of the business, and want to understand what the market opportunity is and how are you targeting, how are you targeting the consumer segment?
Yeah, so our consumer, they are all beauty lovers, right? Or they like to, whether they are trying to do that in the real world or in their digital, I call it the digital lifestyle, right? So it's your selfie, it's your social media. So they always try to, be confident, be beautiful, trying different styles. So it's very important for the consumer that you always have something new. To give you an example, our family of app under the franchise of UCAM, it gets updated every 3 weeks. So it's a very fast pace where we introduce newer features all the time. And it's very analytic based, right? So we actually look at what is trending up, what are the trends, whether now, for example, award season is coming, right? What the celebrities are wearing, what are the color for this next season, right? What are the big brands, the big logos are pushing, and we try to make that available for consumers so they can try, they can take the selfie with their friends, or they can just create a better photo and video. With the power of generative AI, is really unlocking a lot of that opportunity, right? So things that typically take you hours, if not days, to create, now it by created by simple prompts, right? By simple feature in the app, and we have seen that really driving the next momentum that the consumer now, if I compare to 10 years ago when we started, uh, every app was free, right? If you were trying to sell some app, the business was very small. Versus now, if you go to the app store, you look at the top 10, apps in the rank, every single of them ask you to pay some type of subscription. And so I think consumers are also willing to accept that. It means that if you want great product, you are not shy to pay for it, right? So we, for example, we charge about $39 per year of the subscription of our app, and we have just quarter after quarter we've seen record high that there are just more and more consumer willing to pay for those premium features.
Got it. And it's interesting you bring up AI and Gen AI at this time. Uh, is does that does with cheaper Gen AI options, especially with like DeepSeek coming in, does it make your competitive moat stronger, or maybe there is less, there is a possibility that you could have more competition?
I think we welcome that, and we even have a discussion internally, together with the senior leadership in the team. This is a good news, right? When you unlock the power of AI with a much lower infrastructure cost, a much lower training cost, it creates opportunity for everybody. Of course, there will be competition, and that has always been the case for technology, right? In the technology segment, there's always something new that's going to disrupt you, and before that happens, you want to be at the cutting edge and you invest heavily, and then you'll be disrupting somebody else instead of just sitting there. So this is not new to us. We have been in this journey for the last 20 years. That there's always a new generation of technology that's going to be just massively better, much more cost efficient. So DeepSeek, I think, is a good way that is open, right? It is open, and that is a very big distinction. Previously, I think if you want to have a great model, either you pay a very high cost because it is closed and only a very few companies in the world have access to that. Now, companies in smaller size, small cap, mid cap, as we are able to tap into that power. So I think it's going to unlock a lot of possibility, not just for us, I think for the whole industry. The smallest data, great idea, vertical applications. Now you can really harness the power of LLM, of different VLM and other technology using, let's say DeepSeek or similar to DeepSeek type of techniques.
Got it. Tim, over to you.
Great, thank you. This has been an interesting conversation, gentlemen. To wrap things up, I noted that Perfect Corp has approximately 160 million of cash, no debt, and the company's profitable. What is the company's allocation strategy, Louis? And what is the thought process regarding M&A opportunities moving forward, please?
We have always been, very strong discipline in the finance sector. That's why we have been accumulating a lot of cash. Company is cash flow positive for many, many years already. I think that's the beauty of being a software business. Certainly, we don't want to just spend for spending, right? Our growth has been purely organic up to now. So we invest very heavily in technology, in development team. So, keep hiring talents and having a very rich roadmap for our product. But at the same time, we understand the opportunity is greater here, that if there are good opportunity for MMA to grow via acquisition, we are going to embrace that. And the first case, the deal that we have done, as I mentioned earlier, is the acquisition of Wanna that we just completed early January. Right, so Wanna has been the leader for about 5 years in the fashion sector. So it's a huge synergy that we can build together. We are strong in beauty; they are strong in fashion. We are much larger team. We have a global sales force, a global distribution platform. So what we want to do is create those synergy to talk those products and then try to distribute that wider in Asia, in North America, in Europe. So this is kind of the strategy. We certainly are looking into all type of opportunities, but you'll be pivoting around, female shopper, for example. So things that a woman tends to use or tends to buy, that'll be something interesting for us. Certainly in the AI sector, that's something that we understand. We have an expert team in this field. So we try to acquire business that we know how to operate instead of just becoming a controlling shareholder, but really try to build up and integrate the business. This is where we see the demands are, because I do see a lot of my customers in China, in Japan, they all are eager to get into these spaces. If we were building that ourselves, with our limited resources, it would take us a few years to get there. Through acquisition, we may accelerate that path. So, again, the first deal was just announced. The team is very busy working on integration right now. Very soon we are going to be together, go to market together. Just around the corner at Shop Talk, for example, we are going to be exhibiting together, and we are going to bring this new solution that we just added into our portfolio to the market.
Great. Thanks for joining us today, Louis Chen of Perfect Corp, NYSE, ticker symbol PERF, particularly given, I'd be remiss to say, particularly given that it's 10 p.m. In Taiwan, so beyond the call of duty. So thank you for joining us, Louis.
Thank you for having me, Tim.
Also, thanks to my equity research colleague, Kunal Madhukar, for joining us today.
Thank you, Tim. Very exciting. Thank you, Louis, for joining us on this call.
Finally, a special thanks to the producer and editor of the podcast, my colleague Joe Brunetto. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe, as well as visiting www.Water Tower Research to stay up to speed on the company's small cap written research reports, podcast, fireside chats, and conference schedules. We will see you next time for another edition of the WTR Small Cap Spotlight podcast.